All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Good to see you. Big waves to you. Hump day, halfway through the week. I'll tell you this. I don't know if it's because I'm aging a little bit, but man, the weeks and the months and the years fly by. It's just like, wow. But we're halfway through this week of 2022, and we want to kick it off. And we've this week we've particularly we've picked words that might seem a little bit challenging. It might seem a little bit like when you're dealing with struggles and things like that, because at the end of the day, whether we're working on our health goals, we're working on our profession, we're working on relationships, isn't it pretty ordained that we're going to have challenges, right? I mean, it's just without a doubt. So the word for today is breathe, breathe. And this was another great word for me. I had to dive into it a little bit more in the direction I wanted to go. But, you know, the definition for breathe is to take air, oxygen, etc., into the lungs and expel it, inhale it, and exhale it. Gregory McGuire said, remember to breathe. After all, it's the secret to life. We got to breathe. We got to breathe. It's important. God put this mechanism in us and made it an essential to be able to walk around and live this life we live. So breathe is super important. But where I went with this morning, I'm pulling up my phone too, because I'm kind of out of pocket, out of my norm. So bear with me just a second. My phone cut off. So I want to ask you a question. I believe that every single one of us, and maybe you can put it in the comments or the chats and communicate with me a little bit. I believe every single one of us have times where we get upset. We get upset and we end up saying something that we later regret. Now, I know Rick Briefs has never done this. He's the only one on the Zoom that has never done this. So congratulations, Rick. But for most of us, we've had times where we've got upset and we've reacted immediately. And then within 30 minutes or an hour, we're doing damage control, or we're having to say, I'm sorry, which is great. And all of that. I know that's happened in my life like so many times. And one of the things that I found this morning when I looked at the word breathe was finding the internal pause button, and breathe. Let's just call it that. If it was a remote control, let's just say there's a button on here that says, boom, pause and breathe. Pause and breathe. If we could train ourselves to do that. Now, it's easier said than done. But what happens is when things in life upset us, we need some things to be able to trigger and think about. And that's my hope for myself with this work, okay? When I'm talking to you today about breathe, I'm talking to myself. And I really pray for all of us to be able to do these things, because I think all of us probably would be honest, we struggle with that, wanting to react immediately when things happen. So number one, we got to recognize the trigger. Notice when sensations are building inside your body. So how many of you, maybe put it in the chats or the comments, because I think we all deal with this. How many of you kind of get this throbbing in your head when you start to have a sensation of heightened anger? Let's just call it anger. Or how many of you does your body warm up? Or how many of you feel like your ego's attacked? And so you got to defend that, buddy, right? We got to defend our ego when it's attacked. Like, But all these are signs. They're all triggers. Maybe it's a knot in your stomach. Maybe it's a tightening in your chest. But all of these are triggers that we can recognize. Okay, here it comes. Here it comes. I want to tell you about me. I'm going to throw myself under the bus this morning. Okay? It's the only way I know how to do. I'm the person that, I've been asked several times, like, how was you even a head football coach? You seem so laid back. You seem so, nice and blah, blah, blah. Maybe you don't think that, but I've been told that a lot. But I'm quick to fight or flight, right? It's like when things heighten really quick, I'm quick to react. And so for me, I've really got to focus on feeling the trigger. Alan White says, "Oh yes," he might have witnessed that a time or two, but got to recognize the trigger, Brent. And then number two, I got to find and press the pause. Mentally say, "Pause, pause, Brent, pause," and that would save me so many problems in my life over the years. The third thing is take a deep breath. God has made something in our body happen when we take a deep breath and we get extra oxygen in. It does things to our brain. It does things in making us think better and see more clearly. Number four, observe. This is huge for me. Observe with people or a person. Just hold off and listen. Keep the pause button down and take a minute to listen to the other person before having to react. And I think this is an ego thing sometimes for me. I've got to respond. I've got to defend my point, and it's like, pause the dang button, Brent. No, you don't. And then the last is press play. And let me say something about observe. I think sometimes the people we care most about, this can be the biggest problem. The person you love the most, the person you care about the most, sometimes is the hardest to stay quiet and listen. Would you agree or disagree? Some of your spouses are looking at you going, you better agree. You better agree. The last one is press play. Press play. Now you're ready to act, but act mindfully. And so I'm going to go back over these and turn it to Andrea real quick, but because it seems so simple when you read them, but it's oh so hard, right? It's a challenge. But what if when we recognize the trigger and we start to feel this burning inside of us or heat inside of us or irritable feelings inside of us, then we go grab the remote and press the pause button. Just going to pause. And then I'm going to take a deep breath. Maybe don't let them see you do it. And then I'm going to stop and listen and observe. And then I'm going to press play and react mindfully. That's my prayer for myself today. And as I go through this week and the months and the year of 2022, is to focus on the word breathe. And when these happen, use it to my advantage. So, Andrea, I'm going to turn it to you. I hope this helped. I hope it added some value. It was a good word for me today.
Well, I loved it. And, breathe is really important to me right now because I have a little bit of a cold. So my nose is a little bit stuffy. So this was definitely a good lesson for me this morning. So what I kept thinking about is how many times when you're upset, or maybe you're like watching a movie, right? And somebody's losing their marbles, you hear, just take a breath, or breathe, or take a deep breath. Like it's so much a part of our vernacular and our culture to remind people to breathe either in a nice way or in kind of a rude way, to take a deep breath. So have you ever noticed how your breathing changes when you're feeling relaxed, or like when you first wake up in the morning or just before you fall asleep? And we know that when we breathe in that way, when we can find that calm breath, we can relax our whole body. So when you breathe deeply, sends a message. So just kind of like what Coach was saying, you take that breath in that fight or flight moment, and it can slow you down so you don't do either, right? But when we breathe deeply, it sends a message to our brain to calm down and just relax. And that's going to send that message on to your body. So all the stress cues, right? We know them. Like if anybody's been around me when I get upset, I have no filter, right? Like everything shows right on my face. I turn fluorescent red. Like it's very embarrassing. But all of those cues go away with it. So with this, the normal stress cues, your heart rate going up, that fast breathing, your blood pressure, you can control all of that if you take the time to do a deep breath. So I'm going to talk about really briefly is how to do some belly breathings. So I thought this was kind of fun. I'm not going to try it on camera because I think if I tried to right now, it might be a little icky. But belly breathing is easy to do and super relaxing. And so anytime you feel that moment that Brent was just talking about, anytime that you just need to relax and relieve a little bit of stress, do a little bit of belly breathing. So go ahead and sit down, right? Get comfortable. You can lay flat, however you want to do it, and put one hand on your belly, just below your ribs, and your other one up here on your chest. Okay. And your goal is to take a deep breath in through your nose. Coach, you could act this out. Just kidding. Take a deep breath in through your nose and then use your belly to push it out. And I don't know about any of you ladies out there. I don't know if men are taught this, but I feel like as women, we're taught not to let that belly move. Like you hold that in, you keep that, sucked in tight, and we don't breathe. Like we've modified our breathing not to breathe into our belly because we don't want that pooch to stick out there, right? So do the opposite. Let that belly, when you breathe in, let your belly go out, and then breathe through pursed lips as if you're whistling, and feel your hand on your belly go in and out, and have your hand on your chest is going to stay pretty still. And if you do that 3 to 10 times, you're going to really, and take your time with each breath, you will absolutely feel the difference in how relaxed you are. So I'm going to go try it a little bit later. But I love you guys. I hope you have a great day and happy Wednesday.
Andrea, thank you so much. How many of you on here, maybe put it in the chats or the comments, are feeling like you're breathing a little bit, a little bit more this morning? You're thinking about it a little bit. So great word, because there's without a doubt, we all have things in our life that causes heightenedness. And it's something that we need to be able to consciously think about. I know me. So thank you guys for being here this morning. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Let's go make a difference in the world. Guys, we love you and we're grateful for you.
Thank you so much. Love you all.
Thank you guys.
Love you guys.
Feel better,
Grateful for you.
Andrea.
Thank you so much.
Andrea.